Yeah, very good morning to you all. I think it's indeed nice that several hundred people, close to 300 people, are here now already, and we expect more people to come in for this webinar, which is timely and need of the hour, because any legislation which is taken, as long as it is taken for a new policy to come in, because in the earlier policy, when the earlier policy was introduced, the internet wasn't even imagined.
The voice is
So, in that sense, today we have a robust internet. And then when the old policy was there, the Google was still coming in its nascent stage. So today, Google is the biggest library. So, in that sense, technology has moved so fast. So, it's timely that we have this here today, and we have a very distinguished panel comprising of from the academy side, as well as vice chancellors. From UGC perspective too, we have Mr. Sandhu, who's been there as a secretary, and then now he's a vice chancellor. So what is it at the central level, and what is it from the university level? We also have Dr. Kolandavil, who's a vice chancellor at Periyar University, to come and talk about the university perspective. How are they going to how are they seeing the NEP? And then we have Mr. Venkatraman, who heads the future skills for NASCOM, as to how it is going to evolve. And then we have our own panel within the Sona Group from the industry, as well as the principals will be sharing. So if you look at the background, there are certain things which changed the course of India. I'm actually fortunate that I'm taking this meeting at Sona Towers, which was responsible for changing the fortunes of India when it brought in IT company called Texas Instruments, and that kind of revolutionized the entire Indian economy in a way. It became forward-looking and got into the IT map. And when TI came in 1984, we were also fortunate that Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi at that time introduced IT curriculums in all the institutions. And we at Tyagaraja Polytechnic were fortunate that we were one of the first recipients of that program. And so the journey started then. So what are the cities or areas which became magnets for IT? Became Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Gurgaon, these areas. So then similarly in 1991, the liberalization, economic liberalization happened. So a few states took advantage of that. That became a major policy breakthrough and things like that. And then you had cities like Maharashtra, states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, more so than even Maharashtra, took the lead and leapfrogged many other states from the licensed Raj to the liberalized world. And then if you come today, again in 2019, the GST kind of shifted the thing to consumption states from production states, 2018-19. And come 2020, we have the NEP, and this national educational policy is going to change it has the capability and the potential to change a lot of things in India. It's far-reaching. It's very progressive in many ways. But is India ready to take it forward? When I say India, I mean the states, because it depends on the states' implementation of how they're going to implement what they're going to implement. Are they going to embrace it fully, at least partially, or not? Because we've seen certain statements saying that, like, we're against NEP because of X, Y, Z. I think we need to make sure that we leave the contentious issues aside and embrace the ones that we can at least embrace, because there are a lot of good in this policy in terms of increasing the gross enrollment ratio, because as a country our size, we can't have a gross enrollment ratio so low. And also increasing the age limits for the free meals and right to education and things like that are very welcome. And it's also focusing a lot on research, because research is also very well needed for the country. And the spend in research also needs to increase. And the government needs to look at the private sector more so than ever, because 68% of the enrolled seats are in the private sector. But yet yesterday's policy launch, right from Prime Minister Modi to the Education Minister, was all very, very well received. But there was not a single person from the private sector who was represented in that panel. Everybody was from IIT or NIT or government bodies. That is a big, big problem, because if you take the spend of India, over 50% of India's spend is on 2.6% of the students. Let me rephrase that. 60%, let me reiterate that. 60%, 50% of India's spend is on 3% of the people. IITs, NITs, and few central institutions account for that. 97% of the other colleges, 865 colleges, are accounting for the 97%, 97.4%. So that shows the skewed thinking of the government, that only the government colleges and only the top IITs and NITs can then deliver. That's another major thing. And another thing which we need to also do is, Indian medical education is very, very good, because the 1 year that they do residency completely in a medical college and things like that, and then there is a college tied in to the hospital. Whereas there's a big gap in India when it comes to that. So how are we going to address that? That would be another interesting thing. And another major red flag that I see is liberalization in terms of inviting foreign institutions. So you need to have a level playing field. The government needs to make it very clear that any of the 100 institutions which come in will have the same barriers that Indian institution has. And that brings me to the last point of liberalization in education. If you think, we did a detailed analysis over the past 2 days with our team at Sona, and we found that there are 65 compliances that an institution needs to comply with if they are going to be operating. 65 compliances, and these are 65 are again multiple. So you might have to give something to the town and country planning. You might be giving that to the panchayat. You might need to give it to AICTE. You might need to give it to the university you're affiliated to NBA or NAC, different multiple things. So it's an enormous burden. So as a country which prides ourselves in having a vibrant IT industry, I think it's high time that we develop a blockchain or something like that for this kind of thing. So with this in mind, with those opening remarks, I think I'd invite Dr. Jaspal Sandhu. He's very well known as a doctor, a true doctor, because there are many academicians who are doctors, but he's actually a true doctor. And if we were to come to you as a consulting doctor from an NEP side, what would you say are the things? I leave that to you to open the floor, Dr. Jaspal. Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I think
we can hear you, sir.
Connected to the audio.
Yes, sir.
Or perhaps Dr. Kolandavale, or if Jaspal's Sandhuji is having problems. Or perhaps could we start with you, Dr. Venkatraman, from an industry perspective, and then we can come to the academia side. So,
sure, absolutely, we can do that. Thanks so much. And by the way, thanks for giving the title of doctor. Hopefully in the future, I'll be one. Okay, so I think what I would do, I think we have a lot of academicians here who understands this NEP much better than what I would from an industry perspective. What I would probably do in the next 5 minutes is, being spent more than 2 decades in the industry, working in the industry, and the last 1 year with NASSCOM, where I've got a much more macro view. I would like to probably call out some of the gaps that we've seen between industry academia, right, when we go for hiring and all that, and how NEP is attempting to address all of that. Again, at the end of the day, it's all about execution, but at least from a high level view. So the fundamental things which I see here is today, the system is still a lot of emphasis on test of memory versus the skills, right? The first level of filtration is usually with the marks, grades, and certificates, while there are organizations which are waking up to attempt to look at other models like conducting a hackathon, codathon, where your degree does not matter. It's about more about how you're able to apply those skills in a real life situation. Now, typically, when I have been to institutions to hire, be the best institutes in India as well, some of the things that we've seen is while they are good, probably good at their engineering skills, whatever they core to, we've seen certain gaps in terms of the application of those skills, right? So a lot of them are still very theoretical in nature. So the hands-on part is something that could be much better. We see a lot of gap in the life skills. And it's good to see the policy actually emphasizes a lot on the life skills as well, which includes things like critical thinking, problem solving, which is actually the need of the hour. We have more need now than what it was earlier. The other aspect that we see is the learning agility. Now, today, if you go to any corporates, I think, especially not just the fresher, but as you get into the lateral hiring as well, people are looking at from a learning agility as one of the key traits. When I say that, what it means is it's not about what skill you carry today, because the shelf life of the skills have reduced. So it's about your ability to unlearn and relearn or learn a new skill and be able to in a position to apply those skills. Right? So from a policy, I think the focus on the holistic multidisciplinary education is something which will definitely help, because you're taking people out of the comfort zone, saying that you focus only on one area. You have the ability to pick and choose different topics and build your holistic thing. So I think that's one way to address that. In terms of the application, as I mentioned, relating to the policy, the focus on the multilingual, I think that would certainly help, because if you look at, there is a lot of emphasis on English, but India as a country, I think we have only about 10 to 15% of the population which speaks English. Right? So we definitely need that in the local language, not just because we want to protect our culture and heritage and all that, but it's also about the way people can relate to it and assimilate that knowledge. Because that is what, if you have a better understanding of the fundamentals, your creativity actually improves, your innovation quotient improves, right? So fundamentally, if you look at it, if you were able to do that, I think it will ideally leave you into creativity and innovation, which is again something which is very important for us as a country. Because being from the IT industry, I could say we've been more service oriented. A lot of revenues that we've had is more from services. But if you want to really get into the product space, that's where your innovation comes in, creativity comes in, the ability to solve problem, all that comes in. So I think I see a lot of inclusion of that in the NEP. So overall, I see a lot of, they have taken a very holistic approach, not just from the technical areas, but also from the new age skills that are required. I see a focus on the digital skills as well. Now, 3 months back, if I had to really talk to all of you, most likely it would have been either face-to-face over a phone. And slowly we're sort of getting adapted to the new way of learning or new way of teaching as well. We cannot, the policy also says that we cannot assume that people who've been good at traditional teaching would be good in the online world, virtual world as well. So I see a lot of relevance from a digital skilling, things like AI, ML, data security, privacy, which is sort of becoming a backbone, right? So as Mr. Choco also mentioned earlier, so technology has become a backbone. It's not restricted to a particular industry. It sort of cuts across. And there is a lot of emphasis on digital skilling, digital literacy and all that, which is extremely good. The pedagogy of delivery is something which is important. And one other thing which I see on the policy is also in terms of the quality of the faculty members. There's a lot of emphasis there in terms of making sure the teachers and the faculty members are trained on multidisciplinary education. I think that's extremely important. And that is where the collaboration with the industry is also very important, so that they stay current and they are aware of what is really required in the industry, so that they can prepare the students much better. Because I have a huge respect for all the faculty members who are here, as well as my own faculty members, because they sort of really shape us as an individual. There are a few other things which I really liked about the gender balance. There is a focus on that. Mrs. Choco mentioned about enrollment ratio as well. There is a specific focus on the gender thing, because from an industry, we see there is still less participation from the other sex, like the women, I would say. And there's a lot more potential that can be employed. So overall, there is a lot of focus on the employability potential of higher education programs, which I see as an important aspect there. And the last thing which I want to touch upon is also on the mindset, because when you talk about the innovation, while this tags along with the life skills and all that, that is something which is important. And most of the universities or colleges, and I would say even individuals, me as a parent also, we're set to a particular way of thinking where we say, okay, how do we sort of make sure my son or my students actually get placed somewhere? Why can't we start thinking, can they be employee generating kind of individuals, right? An entrepreneurial kind of a mindset. I think that is very important. And that starts, if you look at from a grassroots level, if I have to take an example, when my son actually prepares for an exam, wife always says, you know what, it's not important whether you understand that or not. You have to write it in a way that the teacher understands and give you the marks. So somewhere we are conditioning the student saying that you have to write, you have to use these words, you have to write in a particular way to get the grades. So that's where the grassroots level, we're killing that innovation thing, where an individual might be able to represent that in some other way. So there are some fundamental biases which are there, which are sort of acting as barriers. But I'm glad to see all of this getting focused in the NEP. And hopefully, with all of us have a equal role to play there. The key is to the execution of that. And I'm sure this looks definitely very promising. Thanks, Mr. Chokko.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Venkataraman. I think it's good to hear the perspective. Yeah, Sandhuji, I think we can hear you now. So
install Zoom.
Hello, Dr. Sandhu?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so if you could also give us a perspective from I mean, you've been in the UGC, you're now in the university, and Guru Nanak, a prestigious university. So it'll be good to see your perspective from a India perspective, how this is going to go and how this will navigate. It'll be great. Yeah, great to see you on video too, sir. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, this is technology playing bad, Anyway, I'll just start from how the things were earlier about before the NEP was decided. UGC is the premier organization which controlled not only the funding, but as well as the regulation and accreditation also. Although accreditation was under NAC, but NAC happened to be one of the inter-university centers of UGC. So indirectly, it was controlled by UGC. So whenever we were there, it was always the decision was taken that the funding and the accreditation and the regulation should always separate to three different verticals, and they should not be the ones which should be correlating with each other. Primary reason was that if the regulation person doesn't regulate, you don't give funds. And if he doesn't get accredited again, you don't need funds. So they have to independent agencies to go about it. So what the major thrust towards NEP is that it is basically trying to make three verticals, make them independent authorities, and multiplicity of regulatory bodies will also decrease. As the earlier speaker also mentioned that I think you also mentioned that you had to go in for accreditation from AICTE, from the National Council of Teacher Education, from DCI, MCI, and everybody. So they've not put everything under it. The MCI still stays to be separate, but on the whole, they have put AICTE and National Council of Teacher Education under one body. So when we were accrediting or we were regulating the things, what we were doing was that we were seeking the advice and resource persons from AICTE to work with our panels. And there were certain universities were regulated by AICTE, there were certain colleges were regulated by AICTE, and there were certain universities were regulated purely by UGC. So there were lots of confusion, and lots of court cases were also happening, and the Supreme Court had different divergent views on that also. I think the best thing which could happen in NEP was that we have now a single body which is going to regulate. But I have a small rider to it because the current act of UGC does not give it any teeth whatsoever. It gives you the power to regulate. It gives you the power to make regulations. It just gives you the power to go in for inspections. But if the person is a deviant or he doesn't agree to the regulations, there's not much power in the UGC. So when this NEP goes to the parliament, I would appreciate, I would really hope that the regulator, which vertical of it, is given due power, so that at least he is able to act against a deviant kind of an institution. Otherwise, there's no way he can regulate possibly. The only danda we used was that when the person would not regulate according to our regulations, we would probably stop his funds. But now that is going to be different, funding agency is going to be different, so there will be no correlation between two of them, and they will be different verticals. So the regulator has to be given teeth. As far as funding is concerned, it has to come in the challenge mode. You know what, initially when UGC started way back about 70 years ago, it was universalization of education was the primary aim at the time, because we were a country with very poor GER and we wanted to go on a higher level. So the regulation was never a criteria at the time. What we wanted were new institutions, we wanted new universities to come up. People from the first learner should get educated and we should have an educated country. But now the situation is different. Now the problems are different. We have multiplicity of universities. Some are private universities, then they're national repute, they are state universities, they are central universities, they deemed to universities, they're autonomous colleges almost doing the similar work, all 5-6 of them doing the similar work. So now what we require at present is a good accreditation system, so that we know our students, they go to the best of universities, and the ones who are real on lower side in accreditation, they tend to go to a higher level every year by developing more, by stressing more on research, on student spending, on good faculty, and ultimately this inter se kind of accreditation makes the student make a very kind of a choice to which institution has to go to. So this is what the changes are, and I personally feel that NEP has addressed the major issues which we are facing in UGC at the time, that it was more of a mixture of everything. Now we have clear-cut idea what is going to person to do and how it's going to go about. I think that's about regulation. If anything else you would like to talk about, I'll talk about that also.
Yeah, so I mean, you've been at the university. I mean, now from UGC, now you're in the university, Guru Nanak, prestigious university.
Yeah.
So so now how are you seeing it from the university perspective? So.
The problem is that the things have changed. From what I could see when I was sitting at that place, when I was giving funds to people, my idea at that time was to help the underdeveloped colleges to really develop. That was the aim. So in certain states where the funding was poor, and where we would really go towards, we lean towards those people who didn't have much of funds, so that at least that area or the underserved area gets developed. But the things are changing now, because now it's in a challenge board. If you are good, you get funds. If you're bad, you don't get funds. So this is some kind of a dichotomy in that, which I certainly feel the government has to address. One side, they must develop the good institutions to the level that they compete with the best of the world. But on the other hand, they must also fund the institutions which are in the underserved areas, where people are still first learners, where people still are uneducated and the GER is very poor, and they support them so that we have good institutions in those areas also. So these are two different kind of very wide range of institutions which need help of the funding agency which they're going to create now.
Sure. Thank you, Lakshmanji. And just a follow-up question. So you spoke about funding. So private institutions today account for 78% of the colleges and 67% of the enrollment. But if you take the government funding in higher education, over 50% of the funding goes to 3% of the institutions, which are IITs, NITs, IIMs. And how does the general university, I mean, across India, even the state universities or private universities will get more share in this new policy?
Mr. the problem is that central universities have just about 2% of the total enrollment, just 2%, and they are funded to almost 90% of the funds of UGC used to go to these people. You're very right about it, and absolutely right, because as far as state universities are concerned, except under RUSA, where again under challenge mode, you go in for funding for the best of the institutions, they are getting funded somewhat from RUSA. Otherwise, the state public universities have to still rely on the state funds to run the show, which in my opinion, especially when I'm working in a state university now, though it is a top credited university, I get lots of fund from RUSA also, that's entirely different story. But my funding from state is not even 10% of my total budget. So it's very, very difficult to run a university in a state public university without funding and support from the center or the support from the state. At present, state public university, unless until they come the top ranking, they do not get funding from Government of India. Only funding which is coming from Government of India at present is for the teachers when they get their fellowships, or the students when they. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
Dr.
or teachers, students when they get their projects approved. Otherwise, there's no funding for running a university from Government of India to a state public university. Regarding private universities, that's the reason why they have higher fees. When the students claim about higher fees private universities, that's the only way they can survive. There's no other way they can survive. It's very expensive to run a university. Why are the universities shutting down now? They're shutting down because it's so expensive to run a university that becoming non-viable. So some kind of support is required as far as state as far as the private universities are also concerned. So at least some part of maybe 5, 7, 10% of the budget does come from central government of India.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's some questions also coming in, so we'll come back to you, sir. Dr.
Yes,
Kolandavel, Periyar University Vice Chancellor,
yes.
is also online. So
Yeah.
so he'll speak about the universities as such and overview of I think from his perspective. Dr. Kolandavel?
Yeah, good morning to everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. We can't see you. But
Excellent. Thank you very much, respected Professor Jaspal Singh Santu, Vice Chancellor Guru Nanak Dev University, dear Venkatraman Umakant, Naskam, dear Chako Valliyappa, Vice Chairman, Principals of various colleges of Sona Group, dear participants. Indeed, I am very happy and honored to participate in this program. After 34 years, to face the 21st century challenges, Government of India, after over 4 years of deliberations, they have come out with the new education policy. Over the 3 decades, number of universities has increased, number of colleges increased, and we have a lot of technologies. Technology is available in all the doorsteps of the people. One village. Indeed, it's a very new initiative, timely, important, the new education policy. The few of the salient features for the new education policy for higher education. The NEP emphasized the student-centric. It is a multiple entry and exit policy is available. Another very important thing, 4-year course undergraduate programs is available, and also 5 years integrated program is also available for the students. For the students, they can enter into the first year, they can leave in the second year, they will get certificate. After 2 years, they will get diploma. After 2 years, 3 years, they can come and again, then there is a lot of flexibility for the students, and it is a very good initiative and also very important for these students. It's also very student-centric. Another, burden of syllabus get reduced, that it is very important. If you give more subject, very subject in particular 4 years or 5 years. Therefore, to reduce the burden of the syllabi, then the people will understand the subject, the people have the analytical skill in the subject, the people will have the more domain knowledge in the skills. Otherwise, what will they do, if you give more burden in the syllabi, the people easily get memorized and they will write in the examinations. Therefore, that is also one of the important aspects in the new education policy, that burden of syllabus get reduced. The students, it is an opportunity for students to have a creative thinking, analytical thinking, and the phase is available for the students' creative thinking. And another thing is in research, they have created the National Research Foundation. This National Research Foundation is one of the important things. The reason is, now we have UGC is funding, and also CSIR is funding, DST is funding, DPT is funding. We have to write many proposals for each places. Now, once it becomes the national research funding, all the faculty members, all the scientists, professors can approach for the one place and they can get funding, or if the proposal is not good, they will not get funding. Therefore, that is also one of the important things for the academic people, they need not approach too many places. They can approach only one place if their proposal is good, and also that they will get funding. And they have the uniform policy also. Suppose if DST have the different policy, UGC have different policy. Therefore, now there is a same policy is available for the research funding for the universities. That is also one of the important things. And the freedom to start the institution to adopt more innovative courses. Now, some of the colleges, they are asking for the more innovative courses. We have some restrictions to give the innovative courses for them. Suppose if more autonomy is there, then they can start the innovative courses for 4 or 5 years and more job-oriented courses. After 4 years, they will dismantle, they will go for the new courses and they will go. Therefore, the flexibility to have the more innovative courses for the colleges and the universities is also be there. And another very important thing, and so far what we have been seeing, that teaching, learning is there. Teaching, learning is very important. But we are not giving any skill programs to the students. Now, all the program is integrated with the skill programs also. That it is one of the very, very important thing. If the student leaves after 4 years or 2 years or 3 years, the student will acquire one skill, at least one skill. That skill is very useful for his further employment, for his further study and other things also. The skill in the integration of the skill program is also in this program. Therefore, I appreciate very much for this also. And also, the space for culture, tradition, and the language is also incorporated in the new education policy. And there is a lot of emphasis for the what is our culture, what is our traditions, how the country is moving, how this is going. And this type of thing is also available in the new education policy. In addition to this, lot of emphasis is giving for the languages also. That is also one of the very important thing in the new education policy. I emphasize on additional knowledge, and the knowledge should be also always updated. Therefore, knowledge, when the knowledge is updated, the knowledge should come from the innovations, the knowledge should come from the particular research. The research only makes the knowledge innovation. So the knowledge, therefore, additional of knowledge comes from the research innovations. That is also one of the important things. These new education policies imparted domain knowledge with skill and traditional values. More emphasis on another one important thing, more emphasis on teacher educations. The teacher education, so how to produce the teachers. The teachers should be very talented. The teacher should have more domain knowledge. The teacher is the most powerful man. The teacher should live with dignity. Therefore, the teacher education is giving a lot of, the new education policy giving a lot of emphasis on teacher education, and the dignity of the teacher is also incorporated in the new educational policy. Therefore, we should be proud that the teacher should be proud that the new education policy gives the dignity also. That is also very important in that. And also the above activities will train the students, skilled persons with human values. Always the human values is also very important. Human, that the person should be very humanity nature. Therefore, that is also be there. Therefore, new education policy gives holistic development for the student to face the 21st century and capable of compete with the global citizens. Therefore, this new education policy, it's a very important thing for the universities and the colleges. Therefore, the higher education is going to benefit a lot from these new education policies. And also, I thank Sona Group of Institutions Management for giving me the opportunity to participate in the programs. I thank all the participants also patiently hearing my words. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Just a follow-up question, sir, to Dr. Kolandavel. you spoke about the importance of language and things like that. Language is very good to learn any language. So, I mean, I understand the Hindi imposition, Tamil Nadu being against, but they're only saying third language. So it could be any Indian language, according to that there should be 2 Indian languages out of the 3. So why does Tamil Nadu the government see it as a kind of thing and protesting and saying we will not implement NEP? So,
in this point that I cannot comment on this, because whatever the language that we are learning, that should be very reasonable. That should be given the more emphasis. That should be give the more important in that language. Whatever language the boy learns, but as far as the higher education is comes, only that the 2 languages are there. Only the English medium is there, or the only very few colleges in government colleges we have the Tamil medium also. Whether as far as higher education is concerned, we are more only the local language. We are not giving any other languages. Whereas if it is schools, then the government policy is there. Whereas in the higher educations, we don't have that type of thing. Therefore, whatever available, that it is okay.
sure. Thank you, sir. I think next weekend we heard Mr. Venkatraman talking about it from NASCOM side. So, but from the academic industry gap, I think it will be good to have Thiagu Valiappa speak to us.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's indeed nice to have so many people on the panel and also discuss about something which is, 34, 35 years old. And we're just thinking when the person who was born would have probably finished his PhD and done about 8 years of, industry work from the time the first one came out in 1986, 87. So, but now basically trying to think about all-rounders, trying to grow all-rounders. That was the main focus. And I think, I'm not sure, maybe it's in the detail, but how would this NEP actually produce all-rounders? Because now when we set about our education system and way back in the Gurukul system, if you really see, that was the focus of all-rounders. And the all-rounders was, similar to master of all trades, jack of all trades kind of a, area. So we know from, those days, Mahabharata, Ramayana days, how people were trained and how physical fitness as well as culture, as well as education and science, everything was a part and parcel of growing up, and probably much smaller in numbers. I mean, today you have 60 or 100 people in a class, but then those days there was maybe 10 or 15. So I think that is one question or one kind of area which maybe the government probably has it, but maybe it needs to come out. Second one is just like the Modi government when they came out 6 years ago, minimum governance, maximum minimum government, maximum governance. I think that should probably come into education, because education is too controlled. It should be more output oriented instead of input oriented, instead of systematic processes, the output processes, because that's where the US education format comes in. The kind of growth in the US spaces, we would probably agree, all of us, that it's far faster than what's happening in India. And national assessment, I think there are three huge changes or reforms which has been brought in the assessment. That is a central assessment center, and then education and technology forum, as well as testing centers. So here again, I would like to say that the industry side is again could have played a big role in it, because if you really see the gradation or something like that, if you really look at the IT industry, you have CMM level processes which have been very well defined. And also the fact that if you look at as important as a passport or an Aadhaar card, these are all outsourced to companies like TCSs and other things. So if you do bring in the private companies involved and this competition created, there could be far more growth, because 34 or 35 years ago, IT, as I think one of the speakers pointed out, was probably just a fraction of what it is today. In the last 30 years or 25 years, thanks to Sona Towers, the growth way back has evolved, and today it is what it is because of the non-government related participation which has happened. But government has played a mentoring role or kind of a guidance role wherever it is needed. But I think there are a lot more which is going to come in, because now online payments, cyber safety, security, artificial intelligence, IoT getting into manufacturing. So there's going to be engineers who have been mechanical engineers who are probably passed out of Tyagaraja Polytechnic in 1975 or 85 would want to learn about IoT. So how does one go back and learn that, even if he's a PhD in say some other subject? So this is the question which is in front of us. Probably we would have more answers, but I'm happy to say that Sona is one of the most industry linked colleges, and just as we speak today, we just tied up with the Bangalore Chamber of Industries and Commerce, where we have 21 of our engineers who have also done MBA. So this is management and technology put together. This is where I'm not saying that we are one of them, but we are one of the few where we have already focused on all-round education, because you may have IIT, you may have IIM, but at a Sona level, you will have an engineer who's done MBA as well. So the best of best, if you look at the top CEOs today in the world, are all our technical people managing thousands of people. So I think the growth potential is huge, and maybe as an industry, I would like to say that the regulations have to be more. Business of education, may be bad, but education business needs to be a part and parcel of the growth.
Thank you, Dev. Thank you, Dev. I think Dr. Sendil,
Yeah.
Dr. Karthikeyan, yeah. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Carry on.
Good morning, every one of you, and it gives me great pleasure to be a part of this, today's panel discussion on NEP 2020. And of course, I should start with thanking our, chairman, Sri Valliyappa, who is chairman for the Sona Group of Institution, and who is the main, pillar of post for the organization of this particular event. And I should say thanks to Mr. Chaku for having given me this opportunity to say my views on, higher education system as per this new NEP. And of course, in the opening talk, Mr. Chaku was talking about, a lot of problems what we have been facing for the last 34 years. And, all these are going to go away. That is what is, my perception after seeing the policy documents. And of course, the major problems like, more number of fragmented HEIs are there. There is more than 50,000 HEIs are there, and there is very poor learning outcomes. There is a rigid separation of disciplines and lack of institutional and faculty autonomy. That's the main problem what we are all facing. Even Sona College of Technology, when you talk about, we are fully autonomous, but our hands are tied in so many aspects, and the faculty members are not given much autonomy in terms of, delivering their lectures and other things. And lack of motivational teachers, lack of research, and lack of transparent research funding. Everybody, even Guru Nanak Kvisi also was mentioning this point. 3% is going to, 90% of funding is going to only 3% of institutions. And regulatory system is not empowered to close down the fake colleges. That is also one of the great problems what the society is facing. The problems associated with large affiliating universities. That is also another point. So these are the problems on one hand. And on the other hand, what NEP has in terms of giving solutions for this. Yes, I am saying, very good, policies have been written in this NEP in terms of, all these fragmented institutions are going to go away in terms of bringing, multidisciplinary HEIs. with the minimum 3,000 number of students in each institutions. That's a great, thought of, connecting, many institutions and, bringing multidisciplinary things and moving towards, faculty and institutional autonomy. That is what I see here. Revamping curriculum, pedagogical thinking, and assessment and student support are also given importance over here. Establishment of National Research Foundation. This is the Central National Research Foundation, which is going to fund all the HCAs without, treating, this is, Central University, this is IIT, IIC, and everybody based on certain accreditation, it is going to be given the funding uniformly. That is also given here, and a single regulator for all HCI. That is HECA, like, Mr. Dr. Jaspal also was mentioning, combining AICT and UGC, and they are bringing under Higher Education Commission of India. And under this, 4 verticals which can regulate, like to control regulation, to accreditate the higher educational institutions, and for funding and for academic standard. These 4 verticals are introduced that is going to be fully autonomous, and they are going to, take care of all the problems what we have been facing during the last 34 years. And the one other important point which I have to mention here is online education and open distance learning. That is given much importance, and freedom has been given to HEIs, those who are accredited to do so. So if that is given, automatically the GE, or what we have been discussing about now in 2018, 26.3% is the GER, and which we are planning to reach to 50% in 2030. And this can be achieved only when we go open online education, open distance learning, and that will that is the need of the hour. And of course, during this pandemic situation, we are all seeing the online teaching is playing a very important role. The problem, as an educational institution, we have got few millions of buildings over here, and how we are going to, handle this much facilities which we have, infrastructural facilities what we have, in case when we are opening up the open distance learning or online education. That is a big question mark which we have in front of us in case when it is opened for everybody. And of course, all the colleges now, it is going to be either autonomous college, which is going to award the degrees, and or constituent college. The constituent college is already, which is going to be given the degrees by the university, which is attached with that. So either AC or constituent colleges it is going to be, and by 2040, that is the vision what we have given, what we have received from NEP 2020, that is by 2040, all the above things will be brought under this category. 3 categories. One is university, the other one is the colleges, autonomous colleges which can award the degrees, and the other one is the constituent colleges. And these are the 3 items which really, and in case if you are taking universities, we have got the research, important university and teaching important university. These are the 3 areas what people are talking about. And what will happen to these affiliated institutions now? Majority, even if you take up Anna University for that matter, it's more than 500 plus colleges are affiliated to Anna University. What is the condition for such kind of things? By 2035, all these affiliating systems are going to go away. That is the point they have mentioned here. That is really welcome. So everybody will be really going to be given with the autonomy in terms of conducting programs, in terms of curriculum development, in terms of pedagogical teaching, learning. All such things are going to happen. And the one very important point what I am seeing, I had gone to many countries, and I am seeing wherein we used to see only one terminology called university, whereas in here we are seeing kind of deemed to be university, affiliating technical university, unitary university, and all these things are going to be replaced by only one terminology, which is university, where all multidisciplinary, activities or programs are going to be conducted. And as Dr. Kulandevelu, VC of Periyar University, as he has rightly mentioned, all undergraduate programs are going to be, converted either 3 years or 4 years, 3 years, and with the multiple exit options. That is really welcoming one. Dr. Kulandevelu also was, appreciating that point, really, because the student who gets into the portal of engineering college or any other higher educational institution, and when after 1 or 2 years, if he could not continue his studies for one or other reason, he goes away with the +2. Okay, whereas here in this system, when he completes first year, and if he is not found to be suitable for moving to the next year, he may be leaving the institutional setup with a certificate. And I am requesting the government authorities, the people concerned who have, made this NEP, to consider giving, giving on-the-job training. Whenever they go out at the end of first year with a certificate, the people should be given with 3 or 6 months on-the-job training, for which the government should bring policies to accommodate such persons in the various industries wherein they can be selling themselves in the job market. And when they finish 2 years, they'll be given with a diploma, 3 years a degree, and 4th year a degree with a research. And now the very important thing, like IITs, what people are having, the person who is completing 4 years degree with research is eligible to, register for his PhD program. And of course, when the students are passing out with the undergraduation with either 3 or 4 years, the PG programs are available for them with 1 or 2 years. And for 3 years, 3 years degree program, whatever people have done, they may have to do 2 years PG program. And the 4 years UG program students have to do 1 year PG program. And even with the completion of PG program, they can, become eligible to register for this thing, a PhD program. And one important point which I have to mention here, the students are getting a lot of opportunities to get both major and minor. See, when a student without or knowingly or unknowingly would have chosen a particular branch of engineering after, say, for example, civil engineering, after joining civil engineering, he might feel that, no, this is not my cup of tea, but people are doing some artificial intelligence or 3D printing. So is there any provision for me to learn such kind of things also? There is no system available now. And of course, people have started talking about choice-based credit system, but still it is not 100%. Whereas in this NEP, people are giving an opportunity to do both, the choice, whatever people have pushed him, and his own cup of tea. Both are possible using this. And one other very, very important the point which they have mentioned in this NEP is ABC, that is Academic Bank of Credits. Academic Bank of Credits, he can go into many, say he has joined with one particular institution, he has, learned some 20, 30 credits, and after that he is free to move to other HEI, higher educational institution, and he can take up some more, credits. And similarly, 2, 3 institutions also he can approach, collect all the credits, and a degree can be obtained from any one HEI at the end of the day. So these are the plans, these are the provisions what I see here. And of course, one more thing, internationalization is also they have brought in. I don't know whether it is going to be a boom or a doom for the India, because the top 100 world, top 100 institutions are going to be given permission to, have their institutions set up in India. That's what we need to. And the other way around, what we have to look at, the people, those who are doing really good job in India, they may be given permission to set up their institutions abroad. So the final point I would like to touch upon is the scholarship. Scholarship only for the public institutions they have mentioned, as not only their fee waiver, also for their boarding, lodging, and other kind of scholarships they are giving only for the public, or government colleges. Whereas the private HEIs, they have mentioned 25% to 100% support to be given by the private HEI, at least for 50% of the students. I don't know how the private HEI is going to have funding for such kind of scholarship. So with this, I finished my time for the first round. Thank you very much, Mr. Chakku. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll just address one question for each of the panel and then go to Dr. Karthikeyan.
No, we can't hear you, sir. You're on mute.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I think it is. Thanks for that, Principal. I think I'll go with two questions for a panel, and then we'll carry on with Dr. Karthikeyan after that. This is for Jaspal Singh Sandhuji, sir. Professor Manju Timbare from Bhopal. NEP opens up for establishment of more autonomous colleges with aim of upgrading academic standards. Is there a special benchmark which is drafted to make autonomous colleges better?
Long time back, they gave the guidelines for setting up autonomous colleges, subsequently converted regulations. That gives a benchmark, the accreditation benchmark to set up autonomous colleges. But I must give a small, kind of caution to it, because when we tried to get these colleges of Delhi University autonomous, there was lots of resistance from the teachers themselves to get autonomous. They didn't want the colleges to be autonomous because they wanted to be affiliated with Delhi University. So once you become autonomous, you have your own board of control, you have your board of study, you have your own faculty, you have everything. Your academic council is separate. Only the degree is awarded by the affiliating university. Technically, the university has no role whatsoever to play with autonomous colleges, but most colleges, because the universities have their reputation, so they wanted to still stick with the regional affiliating university. But they are certainly, the benchmarks are there. You just go through regulations. They are mentioned that you have to have so much of faculty, you must have so much of courses, you must have accreditation level of so and so. Then only you can get the status of autonomous colleges. But on the whole, it's a very good idea to have autonomous colleges, but it's going to be very hard work for teachers also.
Thank you, sir. And this is for Professor Kolandavel, sir. They're saying that the medium of instruction in school education, the policy says wherever possible to use home local mother tongue as a medium of instruction. But will it be possible to apply this when the children from different language and backgrounds are in the same classroom? How does a teacher teach?
But in the higher education, most of the colleges, most of the institutions, they are following only the medium of instruction is in English only. Therefore, majority of the students are following the medium of instruction in English. That is happening in all the places of India. But in very few places, very few courses, we have the local language. But they have enough knowledge in the English also. After some times, after degree, but I don't think so. Most of the postgraduate programs are only in English. Therefore, it is not a problem for the student if he is a local language in the undergraduate program, then he will go for the postgraduate program. He could be able to see that the English language, that it is enough for him to compete with the other people. Therefore, it is not the problem. But this has been practicing for over years, and people are doing extremely good for that also. Some of the students have a medium of instruction in Tamil. After they become the postgraduate, then they switch over to English, but only the available is English. Then they are doing extremely well. Therefore, the medium of instructions is not stopping him acquiring knowledge in a particular domain.
Sure. And let me ask, I think that's very true, sir. So if you see, my son is applying to Japan, to Tokyo University, and there are the same program is in two languages. So one is Japanese, one is English. So they can choose which one they want. So perhaps institutions in, say, for example, Tamil Nadu or something, there may be some institutions which may offer Tamil or something like that. So, and this question is for the industry thing. So I'll have Mr. Venkatraman and Chagulippa address this. So, one question from Professor Saravanan is, can we have internship for all years in the college?
Yeah. Why don't you go first, Mr. Venkatraman?
Sure. Okay. So I think the internship is one of the important aspects when it comes to the students, because I mentioned in my initial talk as well, the practical exposure that they get, working on some live problems, working with the corporate thing is very important. And of late, we've seen a lot of organizations also coming forward. There is mention about the internship and the NEP as well, that it has to be done across all years. And industries are also coming forward to do that.
Sure. So I think it's a very interesting question because what really is the success, one of the success of the Indian medical system is that, most of the colleges have a medical college as well as a medical training, hospital as well. So the cost of treatment is hugely coming down. So it's a 4-year or a 5-year program which is done on a medical side, and there is very less cost which is being paid for the students. So I think the internship should start from day one, because we always say this in Sona, 40 months of education will give you 40 years of job. So I think it's very clear the industry needs to be the engine driver. The engine driver has to decide how fast or how slow he goes, because the economy would be the speed that he would go. Like if you are in a medical system today, you would go much faster because medical is doing well because of various advantages during Corona. But at the same time, other industries may not go that fast. So I think the kind of seamless education which could have been brought in, because again, what Saravanan is probably asking is also the fact that I think Principal touched upon that. We have over 1.5 million square feet of buildings and labs, but they are used 18% of the time. So the 82% of the time, my asset is lying vacant. And similarly, there'll be companies outside trying to build in the same kind of facility or more modern or more whatever, and 82% is wasted. These are all national waste. And today you're talking about a cost which is Corona time, where people are trying to reduce work from home and other things. So now here we are immediately with most of the systems. Like there is a untold story saying Infosys can be converted into a 5-star hotel. Any good college can be converted into a very modern institution of repute in terms of business, if you provide the flexibility. So this is where the cost, because the cost of implementing or cost of achieving a certain level of utilization of only 18% is a huge unusable waste which is being going unutilized.
Sure, thank you, Joe. I think vocational education has come into great focus now in the new policy. And I think Dr. Kasturi Rangan kept talking about it, starting it from 6th standard and embedding it through. But one of the forerunners in vocational education has been the Polytechnics. And but they're also saying that only 5% of the people are vocationally trained in India compared to 95% in Korea. So I think it will be interesting to hear Dr. Karthikeyan from Tyagaraja Polytechnic, one of the best polytechnics in India, about how vocational education can come in from the NEP side. So, yeah, Dr. Karthik.
Yeah, very good morning, sir. Before going to the detail about the national education policy, and since our management is conducting Tyagaraja Polytechnic mostly for more than 60 years, and they are in the industry for more than 60 years, and offering the institution and education institution services and industry services for more than 60 years, we had a lot of discussion with our management, especially with Mr. C. Valliyappa. He is always asking you, the people of conducting Tyagaraja Polytechnic for more than 60 years, will you award one degree to the students? Why do you depend upon others? And would you conduct the examination on your own? Would you have a own evaluation pattern? So these kind of questions we are discussing with our management. So the answer coming to the new education policy. So the new education policy, I would appreciate that the childhood education they are giving the mandatory, because they are saying the scientific reason they are giving is that 85% of the cumulative brain development happens prior to the age of 6 years. So that is why they are making much more importance for giving education from 3 to 6 years, So that is why we are making the students brain development opportunity to the brain development to the young children. That is one of the most important thing I appreciated here. And coming to the education, most probably all the polytechnic teachers, the principals are asking the questions. I have seen that. What is the status of polytechnic? Now, combinedly, after completing the 12th standard, for example, now we are offering the polytechnic education and comparing with the engineering education and polytechnic education or arts and science colleges, we are getting the feeder category, the 10th standards. After completing the 10th standard, they are coming to the polytechnic education. Maybe completing the plus 2 level, going to the engineering education. Now they are the via media. If once they decided to enter into the engineering education, they are coming to the polytechnic education. After coming to the polytechnic education successfully, they are going to the lateral entry system. Now the new education policy says that the feeder category for all the colleges only 12 years. So after completing the 12 years, either may go to the engineering colleges or arts colleges. Now it is clubbed into one category, higher educational institutions. Now the question here is, the personally I have the question here is, they are completing the 1 year of courses, they will give a certification. If they are successfully completing 2 years, they will be given the diploma certifications. And if they are completely successfully completing the 3-year graduate and 4-year graduation with the research. Now the question here is, if the students completing successfully the 1 year getting the award of certification moves out. Now we have generally I am talking about the intake. The students intake maybe of civil engineering I am conducting here is 60 intake for the first year. When they are coming to the second year, the 10 students leaving the institution. So the real gap, the 10 students will be the gap for when they moving to the second year again, we have to the group. So these kind of possibilities will be happening. When the system runs for another 10 years, then we will continuously get the input from the different sources and filling the gap. So this is the one of the system, multiple entry and exit system. It's a good system. We have seen in the United, the UK, so these kind of vertical mobility courses they are offering. Maybe the students, the candidates working in the industry, they are coming to the institution during the Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday, they are taking the courses. Then they are completing the certification or diploma, something like that. So this is the good the initiative taken by the new education policy. Now we are running the 3 years diploma courses. The completing the 3-year diploma courses, they are going to the engineering colleges, the lateral entry system to the second year. Now the feeder category, now it is only the plus 2 students. Now the engineering, the polytechnic colleges, now it is offering 3-year courses. Maybe it is given opportunity to offer only 2-year courses, only the diploma. Or the good polytechnic having the good infrastructure facilities or human resources and the accreditation, they will be allowed to upgrade as maybe a degree level colleges. There are 2 possibilities here. I'm thinking that, and most probably in 3 places they are mentioning the new education policy. They are mentioning about 3 places the polytechnic education, and they have mentioned 76 places about the vocational education. So that is why we are able to understood that they are giving much more importance for the vocational education. And the new education policy says that the vocational education that starts from the 6th standard, and it is clubbed with all the degree level, maybe integrating with the degree the courses also. That is a welcome. And they are going to frame a committee, national committee for integration of vocational education also. They are going to look after the framing of vocational courses that can be clubbed with the school education and the engineering colleges and the degree level institutions. Initially, they are thought of implementing the vocational education in the middle level, secondary level school, and graduate they want to implement to the degree level institutions. Maybe now we are saying that in India, whole of India, we are considering that, or we are the assessment says that, or the statistics says that 40 crores of students studying from a school education and a higher education institution. That is accounts for 26.3. Now we are aiming for 2025, we are aiming for 50% of the students study the courses, school education, the higher education. Then the 40 crores of the students, they multiply in the 2025 in double fold, and we will be getting 20 crore of students will be studying as per the policy. So these are my observations. And now the vocational education is not so successful. In our polytechnic also, we are conducting skill development courses and vocational education courses. There is no flexibility of offering the education, and there is no opportunity given to the students to go for vertical mobility. There is no specific instructions, but all the the lacunas are removed and given good opportunity in the new education policy. The students studying the school education or degree level colleges, they are clubbed with the vocational education courses. And not only the additional skill development courses, specifically I'm asking that the civil engineering student who is passing the degree level, he could not able to operate the StatPro software or any analysis and design software. If the students particularly do the analysis and design software, then he will be get good reputed companies for designing the any kind of structures. So that is why not only looking after the additional courses, we can look after the value addition courses for the particular degree, which will enhance the employability of the students or which will give more opportunities at the global level. So that is why the new education policy says the global knowledge power, the India will become global knowledge power. These are my observation about the new education policy, and thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Karthikeyan. I think it's coming more and more relevant. So I think, do you think Polytechnic will become full-fledged colleges? Because now your intake will come in from 10 plus, not 10 plus 3, but it will come 12 plus 3. So it is almost like an engineering institution then. So how do you, what is the thinking?
Yeah, you are asking me, sir?
Yeah. So should Polytechnics become engineering colleges?
Yeah, Polytechnic will be, see, in India, we have 3,500 Polytechnics. In Tamil Nadu alone, we are producing 1 like students of every year from diploma level institutions. And we have two type of categories in our Polytechnic. One is with the good infrastructures and human resources, other facilities. And that good facilities, the colleges will have the good facilities, good infrastructure, good building, all the good facilities will be given opportunity to upgrade themselves to degree level colleges. Or if you want to offer only the diploma level courses, they can be given opportunity only for 2-year diploma courses, getting the intake from 10 plus 2. So that is my observation. One of the thing I want to mention here is the accreditation. We speaking about the accreditation, we are getting the accreditation maybe of 4 years or maybe of 6 years. Once we get the accreditation, right now this year, maybe re-accreditation we are going for another 6 years. But in between the time, there is no supervision, there is no monitoring taken by the accreditation committee. But the new education policy says that once you accredited, the accreditation is a very must. Otherwise, we will not we will not conduct the educational institutions. That is a must. So, like the UK, so the accreditation is the must process for each and every institutions. So, if they accredited, any institution, if it is accredited, then it is closely monitored by the accreditation council sector. That is a very, very welcome point. And one more point I want to emphasize here is, now we are speaking about the students passing the 10 plus 2, coming to the degree level colleges and getting the seats for 4 years or 3 years, whatever it may be. But we are depriving giving the much more importance for the gifted students. The gifted students or the special talented students, if having the additional talent, maybe they give an opportunity for take additional courses, or maybe given the opportunity to complete the courses 1 year earlier. So then only we can recognize the gifted or special talented students. This is one of my personal observation. And the new education policy gives the autonomy to the faculty and the institutions also. The faculty that can formulate the own curriculum, the syllabus, and according to the latest technologies or what is demanded in the factory itself or industry. And also they are giving the special guidance they are giving through the continuous professional development, and they are giving every year they have to undergo 50 hours of continuous professional development. This is a must. So that is why the faculty will be improving every year in terms of knowledge, in terms of expertise, in terms of other techniques also. And one more thing I want to mention here is the Dr. Sandil Kumar speaking about the open distance learning or online distance education. Now the open distance learning and the online distance education is not coming under the status of accreditation. Now they are bringing the open distance learning and the online education are brought under the status of accreditation, and we can offer the face-to-face degree courses, or we can offer the face-to-face degree courses blended with the the online education or open distance learning, but it is a must. The accreditation is a must for open distance learning and for the online education. So the degree courses can be blended or blendly offer with the blended and can offer with the face-to-face degree program and with the open distance learning or online program. This is the welcome, the message is given by the new education policy. Since I am doing the first year, the graduation and getting the certification, and coming to the second year, I need not come to the college directly. I can work in some other places and I can study the courses through the online distance learning or the open distance learning. So that is the given good opportunity for the students and the staff member to grow themselves and take the institution to the very higher level. Maybe they are aiming for 2040. They're aiming for the students in the each and every higher education institution. We have at least a minimum of 3,000 or more. So I think that we will achieve. I think so. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a thank you, Doctor. This is a question for Dr. Sandhu, Dr. Jaspal Singh Sandhu. Sir. So this national single entrance examination for admission is being contemplated. So how will that work, Jaspal Singh Sandhuji? So I think he just went. I just saw him a second ago. Dr. Kolandavel, sir, this national single entrance.
Yeah. Truthfully, I feel it's going to be very, very difficult job for everybody because the different boards have different standards, different areas at different education levels. So it's going to be very, very difficult job to have a common test. But yes, you can make cluster of few states together, maybe some southern states, some northern states, and you put them together and have a common test. Already the central institutions, the central university, about 10, 12 of them have a common entrance test in the country. So it's possible, but on a limited scale, not on a scale of a mega scale that all the universities, 1,000 universities have a single entrance test. It's going to be very, very difficult.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Dr. Kolandavel, any ideas from that thing? So, in how we can go about this common test? Yeah, Dr. Kolandavel.
Yeah, I too say the same what Sandhu says, but it is very difficult because the country is very big, the number of students are more, therefore it is very difficult for them. Even in Tamil Nadu, we have around 7 lakh students are studying plus two, therefore it is very difficult to have the common entrance, and that too the time restriction is there. We cannot have the time is for 1 month or 2 months, therefore within the time restrictions, 1,000 number of colleges, around 40,000 colleges are there. I think it's very difficult to do that, but I don't know what they have a plan. But normally this type of thing is very difficult for the country like this, different language, different orientations, everything is different. Therefore, my feeling is also the same.
I just want to add one thing. See, the idea itself per se is very good. Nothing wrong about it. But again, you have to go in an incremental manner that you go from some states and then you go to half India, then probably the whole India subsequently in another 20, 30 years. It's not going to be, a one-day job of doing this. All the policy per se is very good. It's well drafted, beautifully presented also. Again, it all depends how it's implemented. Similarly, as if this common entrance test is implemented well with the graded manner, in an incremental manner, probably it will work also.
There was another question saying that the industry connect, people have been talking for many ages, but the industry is not coming forward, is what the academicians here are feeling, the question here. So should academic institutions start industry? Dr. Venkatraman, Mr. Venkatraman?
Okay. Are you saying the academic institutions start industry, you're saying?
That's the question.
Okay. Okay. No.
So how can this?
No, I think if they can do, I think it'll be good because we definitely need more industries to generate employment. That's on a lighter note. But yes, I think of late what I see here is at least in the last 5 to 10 years, there's a lot more participation from the industry as well. They're more forthcoming in terms of working with the academia. Like I almost have a discussion on an everyday basis, and most of the organizations are willing to contribute. They want to play a role. The only subtle difference is a lot of these organizations obviously would have their own agenda, try to position their own products or their own thing. So are we preparing the students for a holistic thing? Because you can't prepare them for one particular product, so which might get irrelevant tomorrow. So are we doing that at the technology level, or are we doing it at a product level? That is something to be seen. But from overall, there is a lot of industries which are forthcoming in terms of working with the academia to bridge the gap. And I completely agree on that. There is definitely a lot more, given the scale of India, because this might be happening more in the cities, I would say. But when you look at the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, or even the urban area, whether that is happening is a question. There's a lot more scope to be done.
No, as a matter of fact, CIS Salem was incubated at Sona College of Technology. So CII Salem is again the third best in Tamil Nadu, and Sona is very involved with CII. And as a national level, CII for the first time in the logistics platform, they've added education to as a committee member of that, and I'm happy to be representing this at the logistics side at the central level. Also, the fact that most chamber of commerces, let it be in the regional level, have specific industry institute interface models which are there. And I think the education institutes need to utilize this more further, because see, jobs are the main thing. So if student is industry ready, automatically the industry will come forward and have a more closer approach on an embedded system kind of point of view.
Sure. Thank you. I think we are almost running behind time. So we've taken questions on and off as well. So there are a few questions I think the panelists are able to see as well. So if you can just use that for summing up, and maybe sum up in like 2 minutes. We can start with Jaspal Singh Sandhuji and then Dr. Kolandavid. Summing up comments, sir.
And thank you, Mr. Chako, for giving me this opportunity to be with you. It was an excellent discussion. The panelists were so good. I participated in numerous of these kind of webinars, but this was probably the most productive of all that I've had so far. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, as I mentioned, that policy per se is very good. It's a good policy, well thought over. Again, it comes to implementation. Even the UGC Act, if you really say that Anand came 1956, was very well drafted, but gradually as they went about it, it became redundant. It became difficult to monitor, difficult to regulate, difficult to regulate funding also. I hope that the government this time, when it goes to the parliament, the standard operating procedure which makes for every kind of activity they want in the NEP, it should be so crystal clear that they last for the years to come, and there no changes are done in that. So now the major thing for the government is to make the standard operating procedures for the various activities they want in NEP. That is the thing it is required. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaspalji. So I think we've had a peak of about 650 participants, and now we are still about 500 participants. So I think what you're saying is thank you. I appreciate it.
I thank you. Yeah, I thank you very much, the Sona Group of Institutions, for arranging this type of webinar for new education policy. One thing that I able to see that the panelists, most of the panelists, they come from medical profession, polytechnic, engineering, industry, and yourself, you are an industrialist, and it's a very nice thing. In the new education policy, it comprises all the things. Therefore, it's a nice thing that you invited all the people, and also everybody's role is there in here. Suppose if it is in arts and science colleges, then the polytechnic faculty members can help for the arts and science colleges. And also if it is the polytechnic, then we can give the arts and science can help for them. And also for engineering also like that. This is an opportunity. Now only we have an opportunity, because previously we are isolated. Even in the nearest department, we never had the interactions. Now the policy itself encourages to have interactions with the nearby department, nearby institutions, nearby industries. Now, more industries also coming forward. Now you can see that number of successful courses are comes from the industry only. Therefore, this type of industry interaction should also be extended to the rural students. That is also very, very important. That rural students will suffer a lot. Therefore, the industries should come forward to help the rural students by giving more a humanitarian approach for the rural students also. That is also, and if you make the policies that we have to take it the rural students also, because the community, the connectivity, everything is now it's okay, but a little uncomfortable is there. Therefore, we should take care of all the stakeholders, all the rural and urban, everybody. Therefore, this is a very nice thing that you have arranged all the people from different disciplines, and this will help further growth. And also the new education policy, it is, you cannot transform the whole 1 year. It will take minimum 5 years to completely transform to the next level. Therefore, it's a wonderful opportunity for the young generation to face the 21st challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Venkatraman?
Yeah, I just want to add, I think whatever Kondawil also mentioned, that point is very important because if you look at the overall NEP, I have gone through that. It has a very holistic approach. It talks about different industry segments, different user segments, rather right from a primary to higher education. It talks about the technology intervention there. So overall, I think there's very well thought in terms of adding the life skills, a lot of emphasis on innovation and research, which is much needed here. I actually addressed some of the questions on the Q&A panel as well, about 9 or 10 that I could. One of the things which I could see is a lot of people probably have not really gone through the NEP in totality. I'm talking about the audience. I would highly encourage, I know it's a big document, but I would highly encourage you to go through that so that you have a better understanding, because all of your inputs, because you're there in the academy, you will have a lot more inputs to share. That would be my only request, if they can go through that. And to the point that Mr. Tyagu also mentioned, just want to add on to that, even from a NASCOM perspective, we see a lot of organizations coming forward to work with us, not just in the major cities or so, but they're specifically asking, saying that we want to work in the rural areas. So to the point that Kolondaville was mentioning, there are organizations who are waking up to that. They say we want to specifically focus on the backward areas or the rural areas. But there's, as I mentioned, there's a lot more to do. And I think it's only when we get together that we can really do it. So thanks so much to the Sona Group as well for organizing. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you. Tiago?
Yeah, so I think I've missed out on 2 points which I wanted to just touch upon and before we close. So one is the startups are becoming more and more vibrant, and as we know, coming from Bangalore, capital of startups probably in the world itself. So education has to work with startups. Then only you would have more low cost, fail fast, learn fast, or succeed fast kind of an approach. And education brings in a mix between people, technology, knowledge, as well as youth. So I think that is one very important area. And the CSIR, which is been laid out almost about 10, 12 years ago, 2% of the profits. When you go rural, there are a lot of these industries which are rural. So it could be a good link the CSIR funding to education system as well. Maybe that is, I don't know, probably it is there or it may not be there, but specifically if you take, for example, a state like Tamil Nadu or even for example, Karnataka, we have industries more or less across every district. So maybe that could be a look in. And also the fact that, the vision is set, this is a vision document, I would put it. The mission is going to be the biggest challenge because as we Indians know, how we implement is, more important than, the paper. And I think that is where with such I think Dr. Kalandewal pointed out a huge setup of, millions of people across the country, bringing them onto a platform and with a lot of structural, I wouldn't say changes, but a structural introduction, like various boards and various areas. It's going to be challenging, but having known the present government, I'm sure they'd love to take challenges. So like most reforms, I'm sure this will be a successful one. And I'm happy that at this point of time, Sona speaks about KG to PG. So we are there in, right from kindergarten right up to PhD. So I'm sure that we would have a lot of things to, on our plate to change or kind of reinvent going forward. But I think it's a welcome, policy, and how we implement it is going to be the key. That's what the summing up from my side would be.
Yeah, thank you, Dago. I think we're almost out of time, so I'll just conclude by taking a few points that have been addressed here so far, and then and close the session. So I think Dr. Kolandavel mentioned about the rural side. So I think online education will be a great way to get into the rural side in terms of taking people who cannot come into the mainstream world. And then also online education, like what Dr. Sendal Kumar and Karthikeyan were mentioning, were lifelong learning. So this is going to help especially alumni and things like that who have been there and graduated. I think if a person wants to learn Python programming or come in and learn CNC lathes who have graduated 30, 40 years ago, they are welcome to come into the industry and go across. And another thing which came about in this thing is you have the ABC, the academic bank credits, but when people leave and go, students leave and go, what happens to the vacant seats? So that's something that needs to get addressed. So and then focus on research. It's great that the 4-year research program is coming into mainstream, because India is lacking a lot behind our competition like China and other countries. And I think this may leap forward India across into the research benchmark. And there are a lot of questions on the language side coming in, the repeated questions saying that should a third language in the third standard be too much? I think it's great. If you give 5-language policy to a third standard student, they will learn much faster, because the grasping power of these kids is incredible. So you put them, you give them a maid from another language, they'll pick it up so in that way. And even in the higher education, my son realized when he was studying in Michigan that they said that he had social credits were less. So they forced him to know something social. So he learned Japanese. So because he learned Japanese, he went and got a job in Japan in a top-notch company and started working because of that. That gave him that opportunity. And now he's going to do his PhD in Japan. And because of that fact that he was forced to learn that. So I don't think, and then through staying in Japanese, Sona is a prime example that we have over 1,000 students learning Japanese in Sona. And some of our students are earning 30 lakhs, 28 lakhs in Japan. And that gives them the ability, because it's a life skill. Don't think of it as a language. It's a life skill which gets people there. And another thing which Chairman was wanting to talk about, I mean, NEP is great from a futuristic perspective, but in today's world, in the COVID crisis, the government should also do something for the 40 crore students, and they don't have the ability to pay fees. And if they don't have the ability to pay fees, how are the colleges going to be taking care of the staff in terms of the salaries and things like that? So some soft loans or something like that would be interesting. And lastly, I think Prime Minister when he spoke yesterday, he spoke about not graduating people to become job seekers, but to be job enablers. So I think that's another thing which the entrepreneurship and things like that. So I think we need to develop entrepreneurship at a young age and develop student entrepreneurship programs and things like that. And to conclude, I think I've written an article and an analysis of NEP, which is titled "Devil is in the Implementation." It's available in Hindu Business Line. So if you can Google it, it gives you an insight into this. So I think it's a great panel that we have, and the tremendous interest that over 80% of the people who have joined this are still there today, right now, past the time. So it shows the interest in the subject, and also shows the motivational force that the speakers have given. So I think I should thank Dr. Jaspal Singh Sandhu, who's known as a true doctor, and Sandhuji, I think when I spoke to somebody, he says, "Oh, he's the right person. He's a orthopedic surgeon, so he can give you a fix to the NEP." So from a surgeon side. So thank you, sir. And Dr. Kolandavel has been a very progressive vice chancellor in Salem with us and things like that. So it's always a pleasure having you, sir. Looking forward to interacting with you as well. And then I think when we talk of the future skills, so and the future, so NASSCOM future skills was came in first to our mind. So Mr. Venkatraman, thank you again for coming forward and talking to us. And Sona always prides ourselves in being closely connected with the industry. So Tiago, thank you for coming and talking about how we are talking about the industry. And our principals, Dr. Sendil Kumar and Dr. Karthikeyan, have been leaders leading the academic world in their own areas. So thank you for your contribution as well. And then I thank the HireMee team and the Sona team for putting this together. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.